Hey, let's start again. Hi, everybody. Here's our chart of the day. It's it's 3/19/23. In 2 days, it will be the first day of spring right there, and new moon, sun and moon together. Very exciting, okay? So get ready for the new part of the year. We made it through winter, okay? And here we go. So what I want to show you are some of the long-term outer planet transits. You've seen this before, but we're going to go over it one more time, okay? Just show you. Here's 2023, 2024, 25, etc. We're looking at two particular transits. One, which is Neptune sextile Pluto, and that's been going on for almost 100 years.
Wow.
It's an important transit, but we're going to put that one on the side for now, okay? What we're really going to be looking at, which is starting up in a couple of months, okay, is Uranus sextile Neptune. Okay. It's a big deal. It's a 10-year transit, and it's a full outer planet transit. It's where we have Uranus, principle of change and freedom, and Neptune, principle of release. Okay. So essentially, the way I see Uranus and Neptune is easy access to the transcendent. But to get that easy access, you need to do some preparatory work. You got to be prepared to enjoy it that way. Because if not, it cannot be that. Uranus can be lots of change that you don't want, and Neptune can be like delusion or not sure what's happening. So Uranus and Neptune can be a very confusing type of transit if you're not tuned in. Okay. Now I'd say you guys are tuned into this stuff. Okay. And so you understand when you have two big outer planets together, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of action that we don't quite understand because these are transpersonal energies. They're bigger than what we know. So the best way, frankly, to get acquainted with these energies is to enjoy some non-ordinary state experiences, whether that be psychedelics done in a responsible way, or whether that's meditation done daily, or whether it's, say, a breathwork session, from time to time. So, some way that you can go deep inside of yourself and welcome those energies in and open to them, because that's where you really know them and meet them with your eyes closed. Okay. Then later, when we go through the transits and you can see, oh, yeah, that's what I experienced. Right. That's what it was like. Right. Oh my God, it was just like that. It really was like boundaries were being emptied out. And it really was like I was bigger than myself. And all these things you can't quite say. It doesn't make sense when you just put them in words. People think you're a fucking nut. Okay. But excuse the expression. But Pluto, But when we have experiences within that we can use as a source of reference, okay, that's why in a way I called, I have a reference astrology. I was trying to come up with a million names for it. And I was thinking, what is this all about? It's about personal reference, personally knowing these things, okay? You good, Sarah? There you go. It's two of you now. Wait, coming up here.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
get out of this one.
All right, it's two of you.
Okay. Well, there may be.
Okay, well, whichever. We'll accept you with one or two. Why not? So anyway, Uranus and Neptune and Pluto. These are our two sextiles. They're around for a long time. Okay, and you see they're the purple, the Uranus Neptune is just starting out this year, and towards the second part of the year, we'll get into it more. Okay, once it hits, alrighty. And then the next one I want to show you, you've probably seen this before, is Uranus trine Pluto, which started in the summer of last year. Okay, just a little bit. Okay. And it's moving up. See here? And it's a 10-year transit, man. It's a long transit. Okay. Um, Mostly with this, okay, the key to understanding this intellectually, generally, is the chapter in Cosmos and Psyche, okay, talking about Uranus and Pluto. That's the textbook, you might say, okay. And then from the textbook, we have experiences that draw our own meaning out of it. We understand it for ourselves, and that's what we want to do. We don't want to just look at a textbook and say, this is this. Now I know it. Okay. Because you're not too convincing when you do that. You're just reading something, But through time, okay. So for instance, if you've got a 10-year transit here, I'd say by the year 2025, at least, you should know this transit inside out. Okay. Because you'll have it for a long time. You'll be hearing about it. You'll be having non-ordinary state experiences. You'll be in classes like this. And one day it'll hit you. Oh, this is what it's about. And that's when you're really happening. That's when you're on the road. Okay. You're not like, oh, when do I start driving? I'm sitting in the car, when can I turn it on? The training tapes will be done then you can drive. So look forward to that. All right. Uranus and Pluto, very exciting. It's a big deal in life. It keeps coming around. We have it all the time. Grace and Sarah, you were born in that period. I came alive in that period. Okay. We just had a square from 2007 to 2020. A lot of stuff happened. Okay. And now we have this new one coming up, which is a trine. It's friendly. So it gives me hope and faith for the future, frankly, this transit. What else do we have? Oh, I'm not going to show you that now. Here's something very cool coming up in June 30th. All righty. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. See it this way in a mini grand trine is all together for 30 years. It's the same thing as this and this together. The reason I show it in two screens is because the sextile, is 5, right? 5 degrees. So I show that the way it is. And then the next screen, we show the trine, okay, which is at 10 degrees. So you can't show them together. Whatever, because of Archetypal Explorer, but it doesn't matter. We go around it, okay? And then we see, oops, this guy here. Now, when I first noticed this a few weeks ago, I was just playing. I always play around with the charts in the future. And see, go ahead, Sarah. Do you have a question?
I was just going to ask, so to look at that, did you have to deal with the degrees or could you just, I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
No, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I just wondered if you needed to alter the degree setting or if it was just a matter of,
Okay, what I
getting,
did.
okay.
I'll show you what I did. Okay, since you asked, that's a good question. Okay. Again, since showing it in the timeline, I can't show two different orbs at once, right? So I show the sextiles at 5 degrees, and I show the trine at 10 degrees, right? Because I wanted you to see what they look like. But I can also show it in the timeline, in the horoscope. And all I did was, okay, for instance, I just played around with it, just went because this is all set up already. You see, in the horoscope, we set up in the preferences how big the orbs we want to be for each of the aspects. So, for instance, for the sextile, it's 5 or 6, whichever the case may be in the software. So what I did, that's all set up. So I know when I'm, say, just looking at sextiles here, right? If I just want to look at the sextile, whoops, and the try for these guys, I can just poke around until I get what I want, right? Okay. And then, for instance, if I go a year back, it won't be there, right? I go a year forward. And then if I keep going, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10 years. I mean,
Oh, wow.
follow that?
Yeah.
I'm just going by the year now. See,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
29. Now
Yeah.
it's 2028, 27, 26, 5, 4, and back to here, 23. See, it just starts at June 30th. That's why I got that screen up there. And later on in the as we progress through the classes, I'm going to show you some ultra cool stuff around this. Okay.
Okay.
Right now, I just wanted to.
That's fine. I don't want to get too tangled up in technical stuff. I was just curious how you did that, but I'll go back now and look.
Yeah, again, the key to it is in the timeline, you can only see, for instance, you could see squares and trines at the same time because they're 10 degrees,
Uh-huh.
but you got to approximate the other ways. That's why I try
see.
to show separate screens.
I see.
It's what it is,
Okay.
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 So any questions on that? No question? Okay, cool. Now, I want to do is read a couple of things. Well, actually not yet. Next, I want to go to some cool thing. You ready? Here we go. I'm going to share my screen and show you some new thing that oops. And see this? See this thing here? This is what we're going to talk about next. Okay. What I've done is I've got all four of our charts here. Okay. And you notice on the top, it's Grace right there. Hello, Grace. And Grace has Sun square Pluto. I wanted to put the moon and Uranus there because they're pertinent as well. So because Grace and Sarah both have Uranus and Pluto conjunctions, we'll start again with Grace. I put that there so you see who Pluto is close to. In your case, Uranus. It's a square with the sun, and the moon's not aspected, okay? And we see with Sarah, oops, let's move this over a little bit. We've got Uranus with Pluto, very tight, just 5 degrees off there, okay? And the sun square to Pluto and Uranus, okay? And the moon square to Pluto. So Sarah's got sun and moon Pluto, besides the sun Pluto. Then we go over to Matthias. Whoops. Hey, how'd that happen? And we see there that he has, whoops. Anyway, so much for my acronym with this thing. He's got Sun and Pluto conjunction. Ooh, very nice. Very tight, too. Oh, look at that. 3 degrees apart. It is happening, Matthias. Right? And he also has the Sun and Pluto with the moon as well. Okay. And also Uranus just hanging out. Okay. Then we go to me, Arturo, right here. And I have the Sun square Pluto, righty. And also I have the sun, and I have the moon opposite Pluto. See there? So I have it sun and moon Pluto too. So let's go to, oops. Oh, there it is. Let's start with Grace, shall we? Why not? Grace, you have a sun square Pluto.
Mm-hmm.
Sun, I'll just briefly start it off and then we'll go from there, okay? The sun, as we know, you've heard me say numerous times, represents me. I am an individual. I identify with stuff, okay? I'm me. Pluto is what I identify with. What is Pluto? Pluto is power. Pluto is sometimes too much power.
Mm-hmm.
Pluto's a few things. Pluto's the kind of thing, initially, when you don't know much about it, you don't know the word, or you're not really aware of psychological stuff or psychological processes. Pluto is mostly compulsion. Okay. Pluto is when you're compelled to do something, when there's no way around it. You have to do it. So for some reason, there's no rhyme. There's only one reason you have to do it. There's just a compulsion there. When you don't get what you want, not good. There's a lot of turmoil because there's a voice inside our head that starts screaming. First, faintly. If you don't give it attention, it just gets a little louder and just gets a little louder. It's like this voice that we don't necessarily recognize as us, but it's a voice that just has the control of us. It has command. It just like takes our head. It says, hey, it's like a cops take us and throw us in the car or something. I mean, that's what it's like. You have no say in the matter. You have no control. You're just totally dominated by a force that you don't know anything about it. You don't know where it comes from. You can't stop it. It's just there. It's just overpowering you. Okay. So that's generally the instinctual expression of Pluto. Just raw instincts coming out. Just when they come out really well, when they come out in a strong, positive way through the arts, usually, people like it. They want to see more of us. Okay. They like our song. They like our book. They like what we had to say. It made them feel powerful, made them feel good. Okay. When we express that type of screaming voice in our head without consciousness, it usually comes out as the idea, it's fear, but it's turned around on someone else.
Mhm.
It's a fear we have, but we don't want to acknowledge it, or we can't acknowledge it. So what do? We flip it, and it becomes something on the outside that we must dominate. We've got to take control of it. Okay. Because that's the only way that initial fear that we have gets taken care of. Okay. So when you see people doing that, okay, when you see people just going off and just trying to hurt people away in a way, I mean, it's does that ring a bell at all? Does that resonate at all? Please.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, it's yeah, I think in particular for me personally, and probably because of my cancer placements, that it tends to be centered in my family is where that energy seems to display itself, and interpersonally, that rings a bell, definitely. Yeah. So rather than addressing the whatever it is, that explosive compulsion, it's just energy that just sort of just explodes, I guess, on its own. It has to have a place to go. And so I've found I either, well, because of my Aries placement, I externalize in the physical world, like I get shit done. Or if I can't get shit done, then I get pissed. And then of course, whoever's in my pathway, I've gotten better at this, thankfully, for those who I live with. But they, whoever's the first one in my path gets it. And so that's definitely an energy I've had to work with a lot.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. Is it not? It doesn't even matter who it is, right?
No, oh no, it's
right. It just needs to be
not
somebody, right, to unload
just-
on, right.
right. It's just this. It's just, yeah, and it doesn't happen often. It happened a lot as a kid, a lot of like, because there was so much repression in my family, so there was no place except for creatively. That was a great avenue for me, was the creative expression of that, and that kind of saved my life, I think.
You think you referring to piano playing?
Well, music in general, but not that, but like arts, any of the arts, but music in specifically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's great.
Mhm.
Anybody else? You want to say something?
It was speaking to me so much that I suddenly forgot we were talking about grace.
That makes me feel better.
Anyway, so I'm glad that you spoke grace.
Good. Oh, somebody else suffer like this, please.
So I can wait for my turn.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I want to hear.
Oh, it just when you were describing it, the compulsion and things, I just boy, I'm like, this time for me, I feel you're going to give me more insight on it, but just even driving here today to be in this group, I was feeling like, oh yeah, Pluto. I mean, I would say I'm practically avoiding our studies with each other in this. And I actually think it has to do with this Pluto stuff. I mean, like I really want to do it. And I'm now even just like making some notes and looking at, I'm feeling super grateful. And anyway, I've been waking up every morning with like intense fear, like right out of the gate, that I don't have never had like this before. And I mean, it's just, this stuff moving my mother and my sister in and all of that. And it's just very powerful. And I feel like I'm being just stripped. Like I feel so much, I don't know, like close to death. I don't mean that I'm dying. I just feel like, who cares about anything? Like, like I just, I have like all these journals that I've kept, throughout my life. I look at them, I'm like, bullshit. Who needs to ever write in a journal again? This is like crap. I don't know. It's like I'm just, and I wake up with like this really intense fear, and then I'm trying to, I'm working with that, and I'm super sure that what's happening now needs to happen. Like it is very I'm compelled. I'm like, it is happening. Just like, and that's part of this whole, I mean, it's scary it's understandably scary, but it's just, whoa. And I was driving to my mother's before coming here, and I really felt like I'm moving so slow. I didn't know if I'd be able to make it to this, because I felt like so slowed down. I was like doing packing and clearing things in our house and doing all that this morning. And I was literally like walking, I was like a turtle. Like I was just like, I can't walk any faster than like this slow, heavy pace where I feel like I'm descending into the underworld. Anyway, that's what I have to say.
Wow. It's fabulous. Something's working.
It's scary.
Yeah. It's this action. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the best time in a way. In a way.
Well, I was preparing for the class as much as I could in the time that I allowed myself. And I realized like there was some piece that I read somewhere that was saying where you are in the birth experience when you don't know that you're going to get out. And that is very much how I feel. Like
that's great. Well, also with that in mind, considering the fact that you didn't know where you were going and you ended up in this cool place, right? So I always tell people that when they're about to go, well, you didn't know at one time where you were going, it turned out okay, so maybe who knows where we could be all, who knows. But yeah, it's intense. It's Pluto. It's intense. If it wasn't intense, it wouldn't matter. It would just be it would be just like another press release or another TikTok video, or it'd be just another nothing. It would just be another human-made thing instead of a cosmic event, And that's what we're doing here. We're tuning into cosmic principles. We had a big time with our own principles. We did great with them. Now we're moving up to bigger ideas so that we can go forward, right? I wrote down a few things for Sun Pluto. I'll do mine, okay? Matthias, you want to go ahead? You got something to say about it?
I
You're welcome.
could,
Please,
yeah.
please, welcome you.
I'm trying to see if I can use my words properly. Just describe what I'm feeling and thinking about this. Because I see that, like, the dark kind of underworld parts of me that hold a lot of this Pluto energy that can come up in ways that are like, whoa, that was intense or scary. But it's also like they're still like that energy. It's still on my side. It's like still seeking to course correct my life in ways. It's just that it's the things that it's holding are things that are scary enough that more of my conscious one doesn't want to see them, and so it kind of pushes down, like you said. And at first it's quiet, and then it takes on a darker and more intense energy the more that because it's like, I'm gonna have to get this guy's attention somehow, and he doesn't want to hear what I have to say, so I'm gonna have to it's gonna get more and more dramatic. And so then there's that fear that comes from touching that, because you don't know, it gets scarier and scarier the more it's kind of put away in the shadows. But it is, if I plenty of times I still just end up straight down there. I don't want you coming out, but ultimately, it does seem like there is like true wisdom behind all of that it's trying to say, like, you're not living your life in accord with something that's important to you, even if it seems selfish or like breaks the image of who you think you are, and things like that. It's like you're not living in accord with that, and I'm going to do whatever I have to break something or make something really dramatic happen so that you do shit. And so that's where I'm like, Pluto, hell yeah, even though I'm also like, it is hell, And so I feel a lot of that energy in me. I have for a long time, because
Wow.
a lot of my life I have tried to keep things like that, like, pressed down pretty hard, consciously or unconsciously. Not only more recently am I starting to be like, oh yeah, this stuff's actually my friend. It's not my enemy. And so that's why that's what I have to say. I hope that made
Wow.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like talking about the real thing. Yeah, it makes sense. All you talking about like the core. I mean,
Nice.
the depth. How about here's a interesting. You all talked about Pluto a certain way, and I'm gonna talk after. But I got a prop now to show you. It's funny. You ready? Okay. With that in mind, we could use the word crushed for Pluto, right? And so here we are with the thesaurus, right? We could be crestfallen, desolate, despairing. Here's all the Pluto terms, right? Despondent, disappointed, right? Etc. Or we can go to the next one, right? We could be cramped. We could be inconsolable. I mean, all these things, right? We could be ruined, collapsed, demolished. I love this thesaurus. It's great. Or we could be smashed, broken, crumbled. They all describe Pluto really well, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feeling it. I'm feeling it.
So now, with that in mind, let's go back to here. I want to read you something I wrote this morning about my.
Well, and can I just,
Yeah, go
what
ahead.
Grace was, what you were saying, Grace, like about your physical, like your homes, like you used a word like submerged, or I mean, like the weather literally, like, anyway. Wow. I'm glad you're here.
You guys are so sweet. Okay. Well, just to keep you thinking about this, maybe you want to try this yourself later. It's up to you. Okay. What I was thinking of, what were the positive expressions that I had of Sun Pluto, and what were the negative expressions of my life? I was just trying to think of that, generally speaking. And in the positive side, okay. And I'm just being kind of like open with you guys, okay? So I'm just as much of a nerd as anybody, believe me, okay? So what I put for the positive thing was I had a flair for sports, okay? And bowling. I really like to go bowling because I could take the ball and throw it and with my own kind of twist or something with it, and it was distinctive. And I did well. I would hit all the pins down, and people would say, "Oh, he's such a good bowler," whatever. I was a kid, and I thought that was exciting. That was an expression of that. Okay, I could do things my way. Then the same thing playing baseball. There was distinction because I could hit a ball or something. So, oh, he's good, or he's okay, he's acknowledged, right? And then the other way that I was thinking about it, that I was when I was being seen, because I didn't have any particular skills that I was known for, or I didn't have hobbies or anything like that. But it seemed like the way I was known when I was young, the first time I was actually seen was when I was with young girls, when I was a young guy. Okay. It was the 60s, it was free love, anything goes pretty much. And there was quite an abundance of that type of thing with young people, right? And I remember like the first few times being intimate with someone and like looking in their eyes, and they look, when you get the eye thing back and forth, it's like, whoa, it's like the most wonderful thing there is, pretty much, right? And so I remember being bowled over with that. And now I recognize that as Pluto energy, being distinctive and being seen for something that was within me. Okay, there's some recognition of something, which was good, right? And then some other stuff. Wait, then there was taking acid and seeing the Grateful Dead. There was a big distinction there and a big transformation, which is true. Okay. And then I was a chef. I was a natural food chef when I was younger. And I was people would eat my food and they'd be happy. So I was distinctive in that way. Then I was a commissioned salesperson for a long time in a couple of different industries. And I did well in that. And I had achievement in that. So I was distinctive in that. People would say, "Oh, he's such a good salesman," that kind of stuff. So that was good. And then when I was an engineer, a recording engineer, which I still do sometimes, I would do things my way with my own particular wonderful equipment and get particular results that would be distinctive and Sun Pluto-ish. And I would feel really good about that. Okay. So those are some examples in my life. I usually don't open up like that, but okay, that's the open stuff, the positive stuff. Then on the negative stuff, the Sun Pluto, okay, was mostly a negative self-image that I had of myself. I was overweight. It's hard to believe now, but I was overweight, okay, abundantly. In fact, I was 200 pounds when I was 14, which is big, let's face it. So being overweight is not good, especially when you're a young teenager. Very bad. You get a lot of shit from people. "Oh, look at fat boy over there," or other terms like that weren't maybe as nice. And unfortunately, my wonderful mother, would do the same thing to me. "You're disgusting looking. You're fat," and whatever. God bless. I've worked that all out now, but at the time it was rough, one might say. Okay, so I was pretty much this guy with my Sun Pluto with a very negative self-image, completely. Okay, and I was in the ego crush. I was back at broken, crumbled, demolished, destroyed, mashed, shattered. Okay, that was pretty much my experience. So I didn't have a good self-image. After doing psychedelics and then especially after doing breath work and the the astrology portion, it's changed quite a bit. Okay. I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about these principles through time. And now I'm happy to say that it's been a full transformation on that. Okay. I still sometimes get caught in stuff. Okay, for sure. But I see Sun Pluto, I see the trajectory of it now. I understand that I've been through a lot of fire. I've been through a lot of my own personal fire. And so I've gained experience in the realms of Pluto. Okay. It's not a stranger anymore. I don't have to look at written documentation to understand it. I know it from within. Okay. And that's where you guys are going to get to, through experience. It takes a while. It's not something you read about and you got it. You got to go through the non-ordinary state experiences. You got to get crushed. You got to go through stuff that opens you up, that loosens it's almost like we're a jar with a really tight lid. You can't get it open, you try your best. You can't open it. That's what I do. Just start banging it against the counter. And sometimes then it opens. So maybe the non-ordinary state experiences, the meditation that we do regularly, etc., that gets us all ready. So when we need to open that jar and we need to do the important work, we can do it. So that's my positive and negative. Maybe you want to take some time in your quiet time and think about that too, and maybe list some of those things. That way, they won't be a mystery anymore for you. Okay, it'll be really clear. So back to this again. Okay, just Sun Pluto, Grace. I think you got it. You're on your way. You know what you're talking about. It's meaningful to you. So keep going with that. Okay. If you didn't say that stuff, you see, you're expressing what's real. Something's working. So keep going with that. It's really good. And Sarah, you got the moon too, okay? Which I get into briefly. Moons are emotions in our private side. And what happens with the moon and Pluto sometimes is our emotions can get really intense. Pluto intensifies whatever it touches. And so that can come out really in a rough way. That could that little voice that I was talking about before, the crying voice, okay, is only amplified 5,000 more times with the moon. Okay. And all the hurts of your life and all the misery of creation and existence all of a sudden are part of you, right? And it's not good. Okay. It's tough, but through time, okay, and through studying and going through the non-ordinary state stuff, you get it. And so it takes time, Sarah. Take your time. And same thing with Matthias. You have the moon with Sun and Pluto. Same thing. Just got to take your time with it. You're going to get overblown emotions. I have it too. The moon opposite Pluto. It's just overblown. Also, with the moon and with Pluto, it's good really for erotic stuff, good for potency, under the covers, pretty good. So remember that. These are the two parts of us: the sun, our outward personality, and the moon, our inward personality, with Pluto, the most intense thing we can ever get near. So what do you think is going to happen? A lot of explosions, okay? But when we do the work through time, we do our meditation every day, we look at our transits, we keep doing this, get more familiar, and then it clicks. Then it's, oh, now then you can teach, and you can help others because you understand everything in terms of human nature, because you understand yourself. You've been through your own fire. You've swum out of your own deep ocean. You're back on land now. It's a new day. So Sun Pluto, very important. That's our club. That's our commonality here. I want to stress that the whole time, all these meetings we have, is that Sun Pluto is bold and Sun Pluto is hurting. Sun Pluto is destroyed, is annihilated. Okay. We want to honor both sides of that, Because without the crush, without the death, there's no rebirth, you know. Without the without getting, you know, beaten into the ground, the little shoot can't come up again, you know. And that's what we're doing here. We're growing our little shoots of our new head of hair. That's what we're trying to do. The old head of hair, great. Now we're trying to grow some new hair. And as we know, hair follicles come from within. So we're trying to work on this stuff, and we will. So we good on Sun Pluto? Very important. We're going to go back to it continually, okay? Now, next on the agenda is Sun Uranus. I have it here. Oops. Oh, there's Sun Pluto. I wanted to show you what we have today, which is Sun sextile Pluto. Let me do this for a second, okay? It started the other day, around the 15th or so, and it runs till around the 25th. It's 10 days, okay? It's a little present for us. We have it in our chart. Here it is as a world transit. That means it's double important, okay? So maybe think about it, you know? It's kind of subtle because it's a sextile, okay? It's where do we find depth? Where do we identify with things that are hidden? How is it that we want to know about things that are hidden? How is it that we identify with things that are hidden? Why would we want to do that? What are we, nuts? Everything's out here. like Stan Groff, when he was first, people were telling him to do meditation when he was, starting out. He was, why would I do that? There's so many exciting things to do in the world. Why would I want to just sit down and do nothing? It's so funny when he talks about it. Why would I do that? Sun Pluto, your friend. Okay. Who's next? Oh, yeah, and I wanted to show you too. Do this for homework, okay? Here's a homework assignment. Go into the timeline, okay, under me, under, my transits, me, transit timeline. And over here, you notice I have the sun on the transiting side, and I've got Pluto on the natal side, and I've got the year 2023 there, 2024. Just pull them up and look at your personal sun transits, personal, okay? Just so you know when they're happening. All right, that's all it is. These are just exercises to get more familiar with all this stuff, okay? Do that. It'll help you. Yes.
Hey, you know what? I was doing this
Mhm.
because I thought we were supposed to, and I didn't know what I was doing actually. And and something that I noticed was it seemed like I was having some kind of thing happening at the same time every year for I went.
Yeah, that's
Is that
right.
how it goes? Is that sort of a thing or
Yeah.
oh,
Want me to give you an example of that?
sure.
Okay. You mind if I switch over to another screen here? Let's see.
Nope.
Let's see. Stop share. Hold on a second. I'll show you that. See if I can share the other screen. Let's see. Is that coming up? Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. Oops. Hang on a second, okay? Uh, uh, maybe not. Yeah, here's the idea, okay? Share again. Wait. Share. Here's the idea. For instance, here's the world's let's go to my my horoscope, say. Me horoscope. Okay. You see my chart there, right? And you notice this is an example because it's easy that on the top of my chart I have Pluto, right? Just as an example, okay? And on the bottom of my chart I have the moon, okay? Well, for instance, if the sun, and say this is the sun, goes around each year, right? 1 degree a year, right? I mean, so it's going to be the same. So for instance, if the sun is over here, and it's going to hit my Pluto, every August. That's what it does. And it's going to hit my moon every February, because that's 6 months, right? So yeah, it will. Okay. So if you go back to this thing, you'll notice in my chart, for instance, in February, I've got the opposition, right? And then in August, I've got the conjunction, because that's 6 months down the line. Follow me? So yes, it will, pretty much every year.
Well,
Yeah.
So
Like I
in
know,
other
I
words-
know in the summertime and in August, I'm usually doing breath work somewhere or something. So I know I'm going to have a Sun Pluto aspect. I mean, I know that. So it's exciting to me, you know? So go ahead, please.
Wow. So we have these like personal seasons, basically. Maybe this
Oh,
is
yeah, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, absolutely. And not only that, okay, like you could go further. I mean, you could add, more planets. I mean, but we're just trying to do Pluto, Sun Pluto today,
right.
But yeah, you could
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Like I
'Cause
could add
I
Neptune.
have December,
I can
September.
add,
June.
Uranus. I could add everything, if I wanted to, but we're just trying to show this. Yeah, these are seasons. That's a good way to put it. Very good way to put it. So you got that if you have like look at you when you do it, you'll see in your chart every 6 months it's going to be conjunction or opposition, and every 3 months will be the square, right? Like bingo, there's the 3 months, there's the square right there. Okay. Got that? Good there? Okay. Next thing we want to do is talk about Uranus and Pluto. Hey, in Cosmos and Psyche. Anybody read it? I read it. Okay, this is what we want to talk about, basically. Okay. And the whole idea of reading this stuff in Cosmos and Psyche is not the fact that we have nothing to do in the world and we want to read this stuff. The fact is that in our class, we want to become aware of the outer planet transits. And what better way to do that is with the 4 outer planet transits that Rick Tarnas goes into detail with in Cosmos and Psyche. Okay, that's how I got to that. Because we could pick any transits, I mean, but because they're elucidated so highly in Cosmos and Psyche. And Rick, as you know, is a very thorough author. He goes into lots of detail. I mean, and he keeps it coming. And I remember when I first was reading Cosmos and Psyche, long ago, before I had a reading or anything, I was just bowled over by this guy. The fact that everything I would read, he would just keep coming on and coming on and coming on with a million more examples. I'm like, whoa, man, keep going. I would be like, well, this is just too much, And that's how I was for a long time. So what we want to do is be familiar with the classic interpretations and the classic writing on these big transits. And so in today's assignment, going with Uranus and Pluto, because it's the first one, okay? Essentially, I'll talk about it, okay? Essentially, what the gist of it, of that chapter is that Uranus, of course, the principle of change and of freedom, liberation, and Pluto, intensity, okay? Talking about those 2 planets together in different times, okay? Rick talks about, for instance, say in the 1960s when you guys were born, stuff that was happening, say in the United States and Europe and all over the world, where guys were growing their hair out and people were taking drugs and women were throwing out their bras and stuff that was happening at the same time generally around the world. Okay, that's called a synchronic expression of the archetype. Okay, that would be when stuff similar around the world at the same time. When we talk about expressions of the archetype, say the 60s as an example again, and we go back to the French Revolution, say, and we get into the details of what happened then, we're talking about what's called a diachronic expression of the archetype. What that archetypal pair through time. Okay, so it's not just what's happening, say, in Europe and in California, but say what happened in, again, the French Revolution or 60s in America. And he goes through in that chapter almost a dozen or so other times throughout Western history and sometimes some other history, and with lots of examples and stories of people that really hit the home run, so to say, with Uranus and Pluto. So if you didn't read it, it's no big deal, but do read it sometime. Okay, takes an hour or so, hour or two, but it's so worth it. I mean, it's so worth it. Think of it, if you're going to watch a movie or something, whatever. Maybe I'll read about Uranus and Pluto instead, and it might help. So really try to think of the reading that I assign just as exercises that for you to learn. I read it already, so it's okay. It's okay with me. But I found it was pretty darn exciting reading it again, right? Going through it again. And I tell you, because I haven't gone through these in a few years, and I think I've come away in last few years. So it was revolutionarily wonderful for me to reread that stuff, reread those chapters. So please do it sometime, okay? Just for your own fun. And then you really get a better understanding too about the Uranus trine Pluto coming up. You get a better understanding of the 60s, the French Revolution, all this kind of stuff, because that's all we're really trying to do is understand the archetypal pairs through history, through our life, through other people's lives, through literature, through the arts, through war, all this kind of stuff. Those are expressions, right? Okay, so for right now, we good on that? Uranus and Pluto. I'll tell you what, let's talk about it again next time, okay? You want to do that? Okay, and I'll let you guys take the lead next time. How's that? Ooh, that's pretty good. Like a jujitsu chop right there, okay? All right, and so let's do that, okay? Okay, let's talk about the next fun thing I wanted to bring up, okay? Now this is, I'm going to bring up each week a fun thing that helps me understand more about either my chart or my transits, okay? And for today, okay, because I'm a firm believer in, sticking with the chart, even though we're talking about transits a lot, I'm going to show you something that I want you to recreate as homework, just for yourself, okay? Don't show it to anybody, okay? And it's the following. I'm going to go to the year of my birth, okay, in the timeline, but in the world transits, okay? Watch this, okay? We notice here, if you look here, I'm born in May 1953, okay? We're all born sometime. So what I've done is I've taken a timeline and I've taken a month before and a month after, okay? So I have I actually started a year before. Let's do that. Wait, I'll show you. 52, and then I did 54 just to see what would happen, okay? Popped it up. And then what I could see was my transits. But what I wanted to do was, I should go back to the other one. It's better. Sorry. Sorry, bear with me a second. 53. Okay. Now, in my chart, just to show you, okay, I know that for my sun aspects, okay, I've got the sun sextile Uranus, okay, and this is just a fun exercise, and I know for me, and that's only a 5-degree aspect. So I know that anybody born from like the end of April until May 10th has a sun sextile Uranus, which I think is exciting. You may not, but I think it's exciting. Then I know also I have a sun square Pluto. Okay. And I know that for me to understand how long that transit, that aspect was, so all I'm trying to say is that started the beginning of May and it ends in like May 20th. So there was a big range there. I just wanted to see my birth aspect, what it looks like as a world transit, that a lot of people have it, not just me. That's what I'm trying to show you. Okay. And then, for instance, okay, if I wanted to look at my Mercury transits, okay, my Mercury aspects in my chart, okay, like I'm born May 5th, so it's like right there, okay. I have Mercury opposite Neptune in my chart, but I want to see it as a wave, okay. I know I have Mercury trine Pluto in my chart, but I want to see it as a wave, okay. I'm 1 degree minus Mercury square Uranus. Okay. If I was 1 more degree, I would have a square there. Or you could say I have a wide square, whatever. Okay. So but seeing it this way, I never realized that I had these 3 Mercury aspects and they were all working at the same time. That's what I didn't understand. They were all working at the same time. They weren't separate. Okay. Which was fascinating to me. Because I always thought they were just separate. Oh, I have got Mercury, Neptune, which means I might be good in music. And I've got Mercury, Pluto, which means I'm good at digging holes or something. I'm good at like finding things under the underground or something. But to see them together, okay, to know that I have them together, that has me thinking, oh, I've got Mercury, Neptune, Pluto. What's Neptune, Pluto mean? Okay. So there's a launch point for me to go further. Excuse me. Then also, since I don't have the Mercury with Uranus for the 5th, but I do have it all together with these guys for most of the time leading up to that. That's pretty good knowing they were all together. But then also, I can look at my Venus transits, Venus aspects. I have a Venus square Uranus, which I know. Venus trine Pluto. Venus opposite Neptune. I happen to have Venus with the 3 outer planets. But I never saw them this way before, you know? Just seeing it like this is like, wow, this is so cool. Then I can look at my Mars aspects, which I don't have much, okay? Because I would need a Jupiter in there to show me that I have a Jupiter and Jupiter conjunct Mars I have. But I don't have Jupiter square Pluto, you see, because that ended before my birthday, so I don't have that. But just to see that is important to me. So I can see now my Saturn stuff. I know I have Saturn conjunct Neptune, alrighty, and I have it pretty strong. Okay, it's 1 degree apart, so that's exciting to me. I know that I have Saturn sextile Pluto, okay, which is exciting. I see it's really tight, right? So that's all I'm trying to do is just see my chart from a different perspective. Just like if I was holding up a diamond, oh yeah, I'm used to looking at it this way. What if I turn it to the side? Oh yeah, it looks like that. What if I turn it upside down? Oh, it looks like that. It's just a different way to look at things. I found this fascinating. You may, whatever. I found it to be incredible. And so then if you put all this stuff in here, and then you dial in on your birthday, right? Like in my case. Okay, let's stop again. There's May 5th, my birthday, right? I can see I have the sun with Uranus. I've got the sun with Pluto. Okay. I didn't put the moon in because you know how it gets with the moon. It gets nutty in there. I see that I've got these Mercury aspects in my life. Okay. I see that I've got Venus aspects in my life, right? I mean, if it's confusing with all of them, just remove some of this stuff again. Okay, there's my May 5th. There I am right there. Sun Pluto, Sun Uranus with my Mercury, guys, Mercury aspects, and there we have it. Right there in the fifth, see? So do this for yourself. Have some fun with it. Okay, you'd be surprised. See your chart from a different perspective. That's all I'm trying to say, man. Any questions on that?
There's something about seeing the waves that kind of brings it home that it's dynamic. I
Yeah.
mean, there was these dynamics happening. Yeah.
Yeah, you can watch also. You can see the peaks, you know? You watch them rise and fall. This is to us, this is the greatest thing, man. For learning astrology, seeing the transits and
Yeah.
peaks. I mean, my
It's cool. It's like a unique landscape. That's like, just like, oh, that's like the picture of my little period I was born in. That's like a
there's
picture of
me,
me. This like
baby.
little landscape with these hills and mountains and
It's a brilliant way to do it, I have to say. Maybe someday he'll give us some of the features we want, but other than that, okay. So we're good on that. Again, that's just another way to look at your chart. You got to know your chart. Again, I'm going to get into that for a second. Okay. The chart is everything, because when you study your chart and you know the aspects in your chart, all of a sudden you're in command, because then as soon as there's a world transit or a personal transit, or you're talking to your friend about astrology, whatever, and they've got a something, oh, I know all about that, man. You've got power. See, there's a lot of hidden power, but once you realize your own power, when you express it, that's when it really comes out. So you learn this stuff. I mean, you learn it. You got to learn it, right? When you can express it, new ball game. It's a new day, and we're going to do some of that in the second half of our course. We're going to do some talking, right? Do some expressing. I'm going to get you guys on world transits today or something down the line. See how it goes. You never know. I mean,
The Sun Pluto quartet.
yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. Like we're a jazz quartet. We got songs that we start with, and then we go from there. And then we go back to the song, and we're done, right? That's what we're doing here. Just jazz, like jazz musicians, just learning the form, learning the basics, and then we fly. And we go back to the basics, and we fly. So there's that. What about the next part? Questions, discussion, anything about anything, 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 anything,
Oh,
anything.
okay, I'll say something.
Please.
I feel like I'm talking a lot. I just wanted to say to you guys, Matthias and Grace, that I'm open in between classes if you all want to discuss something, if we're trying to figure something out, or if you discovered some, I mean, not because I won't be able to probably help you much, but at least we could talk about it if you want to. I'm open to that.
That's great. Thank you. Awesome.
cool. Yeah.
This is great art. This is really good. And
Mhm.
Thank you.
I find that after we meet every time, suddenly the lens clears a little bit more for me about everything. It's odd. I feel like there's it accelerates my understanding because we're discussing it. It's becoming alive in our conversation. And I have one friend I can talk about, but not really. She's not an archetypal. And yeah, I feel like this is super, super helpful to just talk about it. What is that? How does that transit look in my life? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Me too. Yeah. I'll say a couple things. Me?
when are you guys all gonna do like your sessions? Are you starting to coordinate your sessions with, say, these Pluto transits? I know, Art, you do. But Matthias, have you been journeying? You're kind of a regular
Uh,
journey.
I've had some journeys, yeah. Um, and I will go and take a look, mostly at the moon transits because they're so
Right.
short. I mean, I do look at the bigger ones too,
Uh-huh.
but a lot of times when it comes to like scheduling a session or a journey, it's kind of like real world circumstances kind of it's like, well, it's gonna be this weekend and that's kind of it if I want to do it anytime soon. And so it's kind of like, all right, well, let's see what's going on. And so then I'll look at it and with that, um, and I think part of it for myself, I think I would look at if I was planning a session for someone else that was less experienced, I would take a much greater heed, I think, as far as like looking at it and being like, does this seem like it could be a difficult transit? You know what I'm saying? And I only say that in that like where I am with journeys now, and I'm not inviting this universe, next time I have a session, but it's like it's okay if things get kind of tough in a session because I'm like that's where some of the meat and potatoes is, you know what I'm saying? But for people that are newer to this and don't yet see the difficult part as the good part, you know, uh, then it's like, okay, well, maybe we don't have something that like really thick Saturn activity or maybe too much Pluto for someone's first
Right.
go or for the earlier stuff. And I tried to look at some of that, but mostly using like the world transits just because Archetypal Explorer makes it hard to see personal transits for another person. And I'm not skilled enough yet to use another tool to see how to do the personal transit part of it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it pairs very well, I think, with journeys and I a very useful tool for that. So
Cool.
Grace,
Thanks.
were you referring to you're deciding to pick times, or what were you
Uh-huh.
what were you
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of like, I mean, so say, okay, I mean, I'm looking at like, I'm okay. I'm gonna do the breath work in May.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, I've got a Sun trine Pluto and transit. And I'm like, well, that's kind of disappointing because I was hoping to have something a little harsher, but that could, well, I mean, we're
Like
gonna,
what?
savage.
we're gonna
The
do
guy with the
this,
long
like,
fingernails to
go
slash his
all the
face?
way
What do
in.
you want? Is your hands? What do you want?
To be great. I wanted to like get rid of all that shit, right?
Uh-huh.
Because there's a finite amount of that crap, right? That dark matter that can come up.
Mhm.
So I want to like excavate it, use my time wisely, right? No,
Yeah.
I mean, but
Well, you know what we could do if you want to, just say as an option, on your session with me thing, whatever, we could go over the transits in detail for
yeah,
your
let's do that.
upcoming visit
Mhm.
and give you a perspective of,
Okay, that's cool.
that seems like, since you're interested in that
No, I am.
and
So
you want
that's
to, and you see you're
yeah,
applying it. You see you're taking the next step now. You're actually applying this work to what you're
right,
going to be doing.
right,
You're
right.
using it as a shovel. I love it's the greatest. But yeah, set up a time with me and
Okay,
we'll do that because that's a good
cool.
idea. See, when you're first new at this, I'll give you a little side talk on this. When you're new first, when this astrology is all new, or if you don't know the astrology at all, say, if you hear someone talking about the transits, it's going to be a Pluto transit or it's going to be this. It's like, I have a certain, it doesn't, I don't understand that. I don't understand how someone can say, oh, these are the transits coming up, so this is what's going to happen to you. It's like, what? That's the exact opposite of the way to do it. The way to do it is have your experience, okay? Whatever it is, just have it. Have your experience and then look at the astrology after. Because that way you're not trying to mold what happened to you into someone's idea. You're not trying to like, oh, do I fit in this box? I don't know. My leg is still sticking out. I don't know. I can't quite get in there. It's about your experience. Then we apply the tool after.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, it's
great.
good if you are experienced in this work, you can do it ahead of time. See, when Matthias and I first started talking, he was like, "Come on, man, let's go. What are the transits? What's going on here? I want to know what's going to be happening to me." And I'm like, "Well, they're on sale this week. 3 for $3,000. You want a few? But it was like that's not going to help you, man, because you're just going to be, how come this didn't happen? Or that. And I even heard someone yesterday online talking about this is what I'm talking about. Telling, oh yeah, if this transit happens, you're going to experience this and this. And I'm like, no, that's not it at all. Anyway, that's my thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think because you guys are totally experienced now. You're not like rookies anymore. You may not know it all, whatever. I don't know it all either. But you're well on your way. I mean, you guys have been like, you're on your way. So yeah, I think knowing in advance might help you. So we'll do that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I think it's cool too when you're like thinking about intentions for a journey and being like, like if you have a certain kind of like, intentions. I've gone back and forth on the camp with intentions for journeys.
Like what?
And
Like what do you mean?
like a lot of time, like, honestly, up until more recently, I was pretty like not big into the like you really need to set an intention camp before you journey. Just feel like more like just feel it out. Does it feel like it's time for this?
Mm-hmm.
And then go with it completely open and don't set anything for it. And I think that's kind of how a lot that's kind of a way of doing things. But I have my most recent journey, the person I did it with, they really like kind of like really wanted me to set a clear intention. And I did.
For
and
you
it
or for
was
them?
actually, yeah, for me. And it
Uh-huh.
was really awesome. And
right
it
on.
kind of changed my mind. I was like, whoa, intention setting
Was that your
can be really
sitter
powerful.
who advised that?
It was in the underground world. It was like
Right.
it was like a group guided ceremony.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like I was kind of doing my thing. I was like, she asked for my intention and I was pretty vague and open. And she was like, she's like pushing me to make it more clear. And then it ended up condensing this idea down into like a mantra that in the experience was like a guiding thing throughout, the mantra. And then after the experience and integration, I've been using that mantra. It's been reconnecting me to the whole experience and everything that I learned inside of it. And that was like, whoa.
That's
But
great.
think so. Yeah. So I think, but think about astrology and intention as being like, if you are going into one and you're like, I have a certain kind of intention that I'm kind of aiming at, maybe you could, I don't know, just an idea, that might be a time when you might want to look at the transits more and be like, does my intention seem to like make sense with these transits or not? But I mean, they're still talking about big, huge universal forces that are beyond our understanding and are mysterious, and you got to just kind of let go and trust. But I was thinking about that as we were talking about it, that aligning intentions with, for example, if I'm like, I just want to go and have a big psychedelic adventure and have some fun or something, maybe I don't, that's my intention. Maybe I don't want to do that when the transits look pretty heavy. You know what I'm saying? That might not be the best day to have a journey with that kind of intention, versus like, I'm really going in there to work on stuff and like look at some hard things. Maybe it does. And then you see, oh, that looks like a pretty serious transit. And that might be like, now I haven't put this into practice yet. This is just something that came to me. I was wondering what you think about this, Art.
You know, That makes me think, Matt, that I'm sort of envisioning myself doing what you're, or what you're talking about, and I'm thinking about how, like, being aware of certain transits happening, that it's like, and being aware of the positives and the negative aspects of or expressions, that it reminds me to, like, yeah, to remind myself that these can be friends. Like, this is like
Mhm.
and so when you talk about an intention, because I'm really wrestling with this lately. Like I said, I wake up and I have like this screaming going on inside. I mean, really, like, screaming, begging. Like,
Mm.
it's really intense. And and I think, like, okay, so even going into it thinking, like this is a vast power that is, like, happening now, and not to get caught up in and being predictive, but just being like, hello, vast power. Like, hello, like, hello God, it's me, Margaret. Hello God, it's me, Sarah. um and as a way of just supporting myself to be with the positive potential aspect that could be happening, of just, like, being sort of aware somewhat that the transit is happening, and, like, that that it has this kind of character of this archetype, and art in multiple, of course, but um to like have a prayer for just being with the positives of that, even as an intention. And I'm just thinking about doing that in the morning as I wake up with this screaming inside.
Mm.
Because now there's like a half a second where I'm like, oh, the screaming isn't happening. And then it's like, oh, there it is. It's happening. But I think I'm gonna remember, like, oh yeah, Pluto, intensity. It's happening. Hello, intensity. Just so that can be an intention of just wanting to relate to what it can give, what it's,
Mm.
as I feel like I'm being crushed to death. Like,
Mm.
so,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, the intention, it's just in the old days,
Mhm.
as far as psychedelics go, didn't have any astrology to think about, so it didn't matter what day it was. Every day's a good day. So, but now we have a kind of a filters we can apply. Okay, if someone new, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not. I don't want to baby someone, but or 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 make it seem irrelevant. But I just say anything's good for anybody. Just go. Just have
Mm.
your experience, man. Just who cares what day it is? Whatever. I mean, but okay, you can tune in to certain days, like Matthias was talking about with the moon and stuff. Yes, that can be done for sure. And I've been trying to do that in my program, my weekly program, with the moon menu, trying to, like, it's just a new thing, trying to tune into that. But before, in the golden era, we didn't have any of this. I didn't have any of this. So there were no filters. It was just go. And you kind of got used to what the go was, and that's what you did. But now, because of the someone sitting with you, helping you, and assisting, which is really good. That takes half the worry off. Okay, that takes half the problem away immediately, because you've got a breathing human being that knows what they're doing, that can assist you, so you feel secure. I mean, most people, when they lose it, because they don't feel secure, you just feel like you're lost. You can't think. Your mind, overwhelms you, and you can't take it.
Yeah, I have a really good example of this.
Yeah.
I have a client that had just massive trauma of losing a child and then losing her husband, and then she just went down like really I mean, under underworld stuff to the max. and to the point where she lost partial custody of her children. I mean, she was having a big breakdown. And then she went to a center that part of their protocol was to do some journeying, like two ayahuasca ceremonies were like part of this month-long thing. And that it was incredibly healing for her. And and I think having a sitter, just having a context, holding, because she was, wow. I mean, it was like all of this underworld, is that the right word? Underworld kind of stuff was just sort of just invading. Like she was seeing all of this intense stuff all around her house, all this kind of like death stuff all around her house, in her children's rooms. She was trying to protect them in crazy ways. I mean, it was like all, but then she did this, and it, you know what, it really helped her. And fortunately, like, I didn't even know what I was getting into, but I took this person on. She's amazing, and her family, and I'm just so glad that I have even a clue about what we're talking about on the other side of this for her. Other side meaning her descent, and then the ceremonies, and now post ceremony, we're kind of, we're being with pieces of, working with the integration. And
wow. Be a good time to introduce her to her chart also.
Do you know what? I mentioned it to her. I don't feel super secure, because even though you said, oh, we're really cooking, like, I don't feel that way at all. Like, but I did mention it to her because she brings up astrology a lot, and that's how I made just like a little mention, and she was like, oh my gosh, do you do this? I went, well, I kind of like changed the subject, because but she gave me her birth time and everything. And so I am going to work on it, but I didn't, because she has so much intensity of energy, and it can just, like, when she focuses on something, it can like get suffused with intensity and then go, and so I'm really working with accepting all of that about her and loving it, and at the same time, like, just kind of helping with keeping our feet on the ground in our process, sort of step at a time at the same time. Yeah. So anyway, but I have the deets for her, and I can work on it. Maybe
in a way, Sarah,
Yeah.
this is almost like your introduction to the next portion of your career.
Oh God.
In a way, this is the introductory.
Yeah, they're all smiling at me.
The volley. This is the pitch. You're taking a hit now.
You know what? It is so coming at me. Like, I swear, everybody who's walking into my door is like, oh, breath work, you say? Oh, psychedelics, you say? I mean, I'm like, I'm not bringing it up. I am not bringing it up with people. They're all kind of just, of course, there's so much more information out there now, and everybody's watching the Michael Pollan thing and all of that. But I mean, it is coming at me. And for the longest time, for decades, I've been like, oh, I'd really like to be doing this and that with people. And I don't see it happening. And now it's like it's happening. And I'm so maxed out with my family, and I'm working like crazy, and I'm head of this board of directors that's exploding, and all these things are going on. But the breath, me doing a, like breath work, doing group thing, it's on, it's gonna happen like soon. Like it's gonna happen. So
That's great.
thank
Man.
you guys.
That's just really great. Yeah, that's the personal revolution. That's the rebirth. That's the transformation. Yeah.
I need you guys, really, really, I do.
And also for intention, just I used to hear that word for a long time, intention. Sounds great, wonderful. But then it seemed as though I started doing it without even thinking about it. It seemed as though, when it really started, I'll be honest with you, frankly, when I first started doing world transits today in early 2020, okay, when I was first, cooking it up in my head, and then when okay, we got to do one, we got to just do it, go, that I would just open and want to my deepest whatever, and I just want to, I intend this to be beautiful. I just intend this to be like wonderful for everybody, that's for me, for you, and it seems that's all I know about intention, is that when you intend to do something from your deep spot, it's okay. It's just like what Sarah was talking about. It's coming at her, and she's coming from her deep spot, and it's happening, and it's a great thing, guys. It's just great. It's just really wonderful. And so all we're trying to do is learn more about it in our own life, so we can become more healed, and then eventually we can help others, if that's the case, because we're on our way. You guys, again, Sarah, you may not be superwoman, but you're super woman. You just need the little N in there. You just need more little N, You're there, you're there, 95% there, all of us in a way.
Oh my gosh.
So thanks, guys, for a wonderful revisit. So we've got one more item. We can have to decide it now, but we have let's decide when we have our next meeting, okay? Because we're tough. It's tough to get us four together, okay? And so what do I have here? Blah 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 blah. So we've got those 3 weeks in March and April. April, what do you want to do? Pick it. Let's pick out. Here's the screen. Where's the calendar? Pick a day in April. Come on, you guys. Pick we've got the 9th, we've got the 16th, we got the 23rd. What do you think?
Yeah, I would be partial to the 9th. I think I'm gonna be in Hawaii again.
Oh, poor thing,
the weekend of the 14th and 21st.
That's
Yeah.
rough.
I know, right?
It's wonderful. That's so wonderful. The 9th is good for you.
Yeah, that should work.
That's Easter
Oh, that's
too, right?
Easter. Yeah, that's Easter. I mean, I don't know.
Why don't you guys think about it, okay? So we don't have to, think about it over the
Yeah.
next few days, and let's try to get that set, okay?
Okay.
And
I
then
think a little bit later than that would kind of be better for me, because I don't know if
well, I'll send a link to the video and a bunch, like a recap of what we did today. And I'm going to give you a couple of video assignments to look at, a couple of Rick's videos for next time, okay? And all the stuff you need to be ready for next time. And I think I have the right email for you, Sarah. I think.
Yeah, I think you sent me the right thing. I'm just, yeah.
Oh, it's okay. We're talking about Pluto, man. Intensity. You got 9 planets in with Pluto. So.
Whew.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Huh.
Okay. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Real soon.
Much love.
All of you be well.
Mwah.
Yeah.
Grace.
Farewell.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Art.
See ya.
Thank you so much.
Bye.